heter alltså Sandra och jobbar med näringslivsutveckling kopplat till musik och entreprenörskap och med det globala nätverket UNESCO Creative Cities. Grace McCallum, Lundberg och Blair, säkert välkända ansikten här. Vi ska diskutera just Sveriges nätverk, stödstrukturer. Varför finns de? Finns det tillräckligt många? För många? Vilken nytta finns det med alla de här initiativen? Men först och främst tänkte jag att ni ska få kort presentera det som ni arbetar med. Grace, Stockholm Music City.
I hope I can do this in
So,
English.
yeah, sorry. Would it be okay if we switch languages for English? Thank you. And if you need us to speak English and Swedish, just let me know and I'll translate.
I promise you, if I do it in English, it will go much quicker. So I'm Grace McCallum. I am one of the founders of Stockholm Music City, and Stockholm Music City is bringing together the music and the tech industries, and basically we do that in different ways. We started as a series of meetups, so we would have quarterly meetups. We began in 2016. We ran those for about a year. We've had our own music tech co-working space, so bringing together music creators, musicians, producers, DJs, like you name it, together with like the more tech side of things. And then we moved out of that space, and now we're back to the community building aspect. So we're based a lot at WeWork, and really just building the community there and in different co-working spaces, and making sure that people who feel like they have something in between music and tech feel like that they have a home to go to. So that's Stockholm Music City.
Wow.
Thank you and good night.
Yeah. I think I can take it in English as well.
Right.
My name is Lundberg, and I'm the general manager of GAFFA magazine. Physic magazine and online, and we do events, stuff like that. Write about all kinds of music. We're a monthly magazine and a daily website.
So your readers are kind of a network.
Between 19 and 50. Yeah, I looked it up this morning. Must be correct.
So ages.
Yeah.
All over Sweden, and also you're an international.
We also
Denmark as well.
operate in Norway and Denmark.
Yeah.
So we're a big magazine in Scandinavian measures, or in Northern Europe measures. So, yeah.
So you're a tall, smart magazine.
We're very tall
No, it's
and wide, like SpongeBob. It's enormous.
Knows a lot what's going on, and so do you, Michael.
Oh.
You're one of the consultants working with several networks and support structures. Tell us more about yourself.
I'm Michael Blair, hette jag. Jag bor I Vasastan med min partner och fru och vår dotter. I started out as an accordion player when I was 7 years old. Want to go back that far? Dragspel, my first instrument. Started playing drums, of course, when the Beatles came in 1964. I've been doing that since. I play drums and percussion on records and tours. I came up in the session scene in New York in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Met my lovely Swedish, then-to-be wife, partner in the end of the 80s. Started coming over here after that. As a session player and percussionist and touring person, I played with Tom Waits, Lou Reed, Elvis Costello, Suzanne Vega. I've written songs with the Weeping Willows. Klaus and I have done a whole bunch of projects together. Sandra and I are starting to do a bunch of projects together. And yes, I consult for different cities, for regions, for as a creative sector, a consultant also. I'm taking a delegation from Gothenburg to the South by Southwest festival in a few weeks, introducing them to the people that are like them at South by, the city of Austin, and that sort of thing. So I do that kind of work for different places as well. And I teach songwriting camps, production workshops, and that sort of thing. I can't actually decide ever what I really like. So, and I'm like a little magpie or a little puppy dog, you know. So
you're your own network.
It's sort of true in a way. I mean, the good news and the bad news, you know. It's like, what did Ian Hunter say? You know, you're never alone if you're a schizophrenic. You know,
so if you need help,
it's true.
If you need help networking, just
true.
find Michael Blair. So.
There are many conversations going on right here, right now. So, you obviously help. I'm in touch.
In our previous panel, we talked about how even education talks a lot about networking and the importance of entrepreneurship and having this knowledge of how everything connects and works together. I know that there is a lot of discussions on what kind of support structures we need in Sweden, which one that works and doesn't work. So I thought that we'll just pass through here with different kind of questions because you all work in different ways. But Grace, what is the value of your community? Because it's a community with a worldwide network that keeps developing tech, and you live next to Spotify and WeWork, but at the same time you work with the Belgian embassy or music entrepreneurs. So how does it work, and what do you feel is missing in Sweden today?
So I originally moved to Sweden for music, and I think that Sweden is a music nation, so there's a lot here that we can build upon, and I think that is why Stockholm Music City is so right for right now and right here. I think that Swedes are very forward-thinking in the way that they think about different industries and not as maybe analog and closed off as maybe Australia is. And I really liked that dynamic way of working, that you could take these two industries that you might traditionally think of as very separate and bring them together and really strengthen each other. And I think when we started Stockholm Music, that was the thing that really stood out to me, is that, I came over just as a straight musician. I have nothing to do with tech whatsoever, never thought that I would work with it. And that changed really quickly when I started to see the similarities and the synergies between the two industries. And I think that tech is the future of the music industry, and it doesn't have to be scary. And I think that that's why it's really important that we have a community like Stockholm Music, and that's what we're trying to build and what we have been building over the last few years, to really consolidate those two communities into one and present new opportunities for collaboration and different projects, and really representing Sweden abroad in such a dynamic and future-proofing way. And I think the way to future-proof the music industry is through tech. And if we can present artists and music creators and people who often have felt disenfranchised in the traditional music industry, if we can introduce them to different ways of working and different people, different technologies, and tell them that there are more options than just signing to a major label. You can do this yourself, you can go through this, there are new ways of working. Maybe they will have more creative freedom and control, and that's really what we're trying to do, create a healthier music industry through tech.
Yeah, so your community is kind of a bridge between tech and music. And do you have a result that you think would be interesting to share? A result coming from your networking and your traveling the world to create awareness for Swedish music industry?
I think just in general, we see it on a very sort of grassroots level when we have our meetups, and we do 4 a year of the major ones, and then we also have afterworks and breakfasts and those sort of things in between, just to keep things rolling. But I think that the best things are really when you see that two people that you've put together in a room at a meetup who didn't previously know each other and weren't from the same industry have gone away and created a new company together, or we've had companies who have had similar ideas and have been working towards the same sort of idea, and it's really interesting to see like, oh, when they meet each other, they're going to pivot their ideas and like take on different parts of the same problem, or they're going to combine and collaborate, and we've seen that like quite a lot of times.
So important just to get people meeting up, and you got California to come to Sweden, which is also really great. And Per, you see so much of the goings on in the Swedish music industry from several perspectives through your job, and of course you're a small network through your readers. But what do you see is needed for support structures today, and what do you see is missing?
If I look at it with not my GAFFA eyes, more from my private eyes, as a member of a society, I would say that every city or every region needs culture for people to consume. Otherwise, what you do, you go to work, you go home, and that's it. So cities or
municipalities,
yeah. They need to be more aware of how to offer people culture, dance, theaters, music,
the greater value of the whole
stuff like that. You have to. You want to widen your tax base. That's what cities must do. You have to get more people to want to come and live in your town.
What kind of
region.
support should they supply? Listen more, listen more and take some more chances, maybe. Yeah, more brave. Get rid of some roadblocks.
And I have the fullest respect of in this case of what you do with tax money. You have to go to schools, have to go to communications, to healthcare, but culture is as important as those three.
Social sustainability is as important as environmental.
So listen more. Yeah.
Good. And Michael, you work in an array of different parts of this, with several stakeholders all over Sweden. What kind of support structures do you think is working well in Sweden today, and what are you missing?
Oh, bra fråga, as usual. Having been here for 30 years or so now, I think one of the things that I've seen that I've really been impressed with is like the Studieförbund movement. And so we've got one of the bosses right here, Mr. Sensus himself, and Studiefrämjandet, ABF in the old days, and Bilda, and that sort of thing. So the good news for me as an American coming here, it was great to see those in almost every city, almost every town. There was a place to go, replicale, all the stuff that we sort of take for granted. My money goes there, thank you very much. That's a very, very good thing. I don't have a problem with that at all. And especially when they pay me to come work for them. And I'm really happy that they have budgets.
So we need to care for the foundation of the Swedish music industry.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, just to take care of me, actually, is what Per was saying was we need a bigger tax structure in all these cities to hire people like me. But to answer the question, one of the things that I'd love to see, though, from a national point of view, is for all the Studieförbund to actually work together. Because, not just because I was in New York for all those years, but there aren't that many Swedes. You guys have not made very many of each other. And I remember in the 90s, through the Studieförbund system and the indie revolution in the 90s, the bands that I first worked with, it was like Popsicle, This Perfect Day, X-Stone, Comeda, like really, really great bands. And But what I found was there were more bands than there were fans. If you understand what I mean, that's oversimplified. But it's like sort of what you were saying, Per. You know, that there are more people talented in the country than there are people willing to pay for the other talented people. If you understand what I mean, that's oversimplified in a way, but that trickle-down theory and all that other stuff, it'll absolutely never work here. Because we don't have enough people at the bottom level that are really willing to pay. I mean, not tons.
So how could you get to that problem? Is it through support structures for event managers, or is it through exporting the music, or what do you think is missing?
I would actually like to see like the Swedish Music Commission. Almost every city that I work with outside of Sweden has a music commission. And Stockholm doesn't has a music commission. You know, we all talk about how great it is in music cities, and you're working with sound diplomacy that's trying to do that all over the world. You know, a music assessment organization that Sandra works with, that I know the people for a million years, they talk about those very things. Where does the money come from? What kind of organizations are working together? And I would love to see an organization, not for more bureaucracy and not for more telling people what to do, but to actually have a clearinghouse for, here are all the studieforbunds, here are all the studios, here are all the producers, here are all the places like Stockholm Music Tech. Come here, we'll tell you where they are. Not to tell you what to do with them or what to do with your money.
It's a gateway to the Swedish.
Absolutely, like a clearinghouse for all that sort of stuff, because it's only 10 million people. How come we don't know about each other? I mean, besides the fact that you want to go into the forest and only see moose poop, you don't want to see other people. You know, so it's just not enough people.
We have Export Music Sweden that's excellent at telling others about our music industry and our artists. So we need more work at home, a platform in Sweden.
Well, I'll just finish up. I'll give this back. Export Music Sweden is the least powerful and least funded of any of the Nordic export organizations. We're screwed.
They're doing great work, though.
No, but those are not mutually exclusive concepts. I've known Jesper before he got the gig. And I started working with Export Music Sweden people when it started with Per Alexandersson like 30 years ago. Music Finland, Music Norway, they've got more people hired. They have more people in the room, and they have more events than we do. So I would love...
Poland is bigger than
Absolutely. So with all the work that Jesper does and we help him, I would love to see our government and our listeners and our real people fund it. Not just for money to make anybody rich, but just to get more stuff done.
So what you're looking at is you want a national network,
yes,
and you want someone to be the gateway for, not for export, but the way into Sweden.
An umbrella organization going both directions.
Yeah. But Per, I was thinking on a national level in Sweden, what do you think are networks that are working really well? Creating awareness about issues.
Tricky one.
Yeah. I'm thinking Sweden Live, you talked about how the live venues have suffered.
Sweden Live, great, really great, important.
You talked about that in our previous conversation before we got on stage.
Yeah, great. What else? I mean, the music business, if you call like the major guys and stuff, they have their own network that doesn't come doesn't simmer down to the.
Do you think the regional support structures like Talent Coach and Dollarpop and are they a phenomenon that we should develop?
Yeah, both great examples as well. Yeah, as Michael said, we need more people in this country. We need more people.
Bigger audience.
Yeah.
We'll have to import an audience.
Yeah.
Then they need to know we're here then.
Yeah.
Can I add something?
Please.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think that, as I was saying before, Sweden has exactly what it takes to be this amazing music nation, and we all know it, but nobody outside of Sweden knows it. I went back to Australia and I was like, oh, the music industry there is amazing. And all my friends were like, but like, what's there? Like, just ABBA and like, what else? And I was like, well, you know, like, Avicii is Swedish. This is a few years ago. And they said, oh, and is Swedish House Mafia actually Swedish? And I was like, if people don't know this, how are they actually, like, they don't know what they are consuming in the top 40 is Swedish. They don't know it's Swedish made, Swedish produced, written, and that's a problem. And I think that we need people, and maybe Australians, to tell people and not be so log-on about being great.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the...
And I'd say most people know about the music, but they maybe not so aware of all the companies coming from Sweden and all the innovations like Softube or Spotify or whatever. And I think we could tell more about that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we have a dual function with Stockholm Music, and I think that they play into each other quite well. So the entire aim is to make a healthier music industry for creators, but just using tech as a tool to do that. So our focus really is on like the traditional music industry, but we have to nurture the tech to enable it to future-proof Sweden as a music nation. And so we have a lot of collaborations and like a lot of people in our community who come from music tech companies, the big ones, like the smaller up-and-coming ones, some people that like just have the spark of an idea and need a community around them to really like form it into a viable business. And that's what we're trying to do. And if we can maybe introduce more music people into that mix, so that the music tech companies that are created actually have that music element where, you know, it's not useless to the music community. We've seen so many that but especially before Stockholm Music came along, that because there wasn't a home for music tech, they didn't meet each other on a regular basis. And so you would have music tech companies that would start their business and then be like, so we've made this great new product for you guys. And they're like, we would never use that. Why did you make it?
The dialogue between the music industry and the tech is very important.
Yeah, and so I think that that's like the duality that we have. Like we do work a lot with music tech, but also with like the traditional industry, and like really making sure that like they don't feel scared off by the prospect of working with people who are digital, like I did when I first came to Sweden, and my co-founder who had this idea to combine music and tech together in a community, and I was like so averse to tech, and yeah, I think
so. We need platforms and networks
making
for
it less scary,
making all these cross collaborations.
And I think that that's also the important thing about all of the organisations in Sweden that are like working within this space, is that like you might be just one region, but you need to work with all the other regions to create this music nation, because you can't create one just from a capital city. Like it takes everybody. So
yeah.
To follow that up about what Grace was saying, and like we've all been saying, Sandra, also the disconnect between maybe business and art and culture, where the money comes from, what's commercial, where does the tax money come? I mean, we're still in the middle of this, I think, transition in Sweden, you know, from, you know, the social democracy where there's hardly any like commercial success in the music industry, but now 30, 40 years later, the world is finding out that it isn't just ABBA, and there are a lot more artists, and there are, you know, producer writers and stuff like that that are working with international situations. That I'm a member of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce, Handelskammaren, and I go to their lunches, and I go to their breakfasts, and I go to their creative sector, you know, events and stuff like that. There is no one else in the room like me in the room. I'm an old American rock drummer. I don't own anything like that. I'm not the boss of a theater. I don't run a label. I'm not, you know, a government. I'm not the culture minister. There's nobody like that in any of these meetings at all. So what you were saying about listening and what community can do and how to actually have people not be as scared, be more proud, from city to city and group to group about what you're actually doing. And everybody's on Facebook all day long. How come I don't know about your company?
Yeah.
I mean, that's oversimplified, but
And working with trade and industry, I can tell that it's been a long road to connect music. Gaming is easier, but it's been hard to get music into the industry development on a municipal and regional level, much better on national level though. I think that it's very important that we start taking support structures and networks. We need to develop them and create more value through it. And at the same time, we have to be careful not to be focusing so much on the support structures that the actual music and artists suffer from too much administration. So this is a balance where we have a lot of work to do in Sweden, I think. But thank you for coming and telling your respective. You have a last
famous
comment.
last words.
Please be my guest.
Support your local venue, support your local theater, and that's it.
Thank you. And thank you all for making it till so late. I hope you have a great night at Manifestdagen. Jättebra. Är det någon som skulle vilja fråga lite mer på svenska så finns vi här efteråt. Så tack så mycket.